The metal chair felt cold against Kixtal's crystalline skin. The room was white and clean with bright lights that hurt their large black eyes. 3 humans sat across from them at a simple table. They wore dark blue uniforms with strange symbols on their shoulders. Kixtal had been in this room for many hours now. The humans kept asking the same questions over and over. They wanted to know about the war. They wanted to know about the Zephyrian fleet. They wanted to know why Kixtal was the only one left alive. The tallest human, a female with short gray hair, leaned forward. Her name was Colonel Martinez. She had introduced herself when they first brought Kixtal here 3 days ago. "Tell us again about first contact," Colonel Martinez said. Her voice was calm and patient. "Tell us how it started." Kixtal's throat made a clicking sound. It was how their species showed they were thinking. The humans had learned this already. They waited quietly. "We found your radio signals 60 of your years ago," Kixtal began. Their voice sounded like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. The hegemony was excited. A new species to meet, a new culture to learn from. The second human, a young man with dark skin, wrote notes on a tablet. His name was Dr. Chen. He was some kind of scientist who studied alien species. "The hegemony has met 47 species before yours," Kixtal continued. "Always the same process. We make contact. We share knowledge. We offer membership in our empire. Every species says yes eventually." Colonel Martinez nodded. "But humans were different. Very different," Kixtal said. Their voice became quieter. "We sent our ships to your planet Earth, beautiful blue world. We broadcast standard greeting messages. We showed pictures of our technology, our cities, our peaceful intentions." The third human had not spoken much. He was older than the others, with white hair and many wrinkles on his face. General Harrison was his name. He wore more symbols on his uniform than the others. "What was our response?" General Harrison asked. Kixtal's large eyes blinked slowly. "Your leaders gathered quickly, faster than any species we had seen before. Within 6 of your hours you sent a message back to us." "What did the message say?" 3 words, Kixtal whispered. "We decline, leave." Dr. Chen looked up from his tablet. "That was it? No questions about your technology? No curiosity about other worlds?" "Nothing," Kixtal said. "We waited for more communication. Surely you would want to know about the galaxy, about the other species, about the wonders we could show you." Colonel Martinez poured water into a glass and pushed it toward Kixtal. The alien species could drink human water, they had learned. It helped keep their throat clear for speaking. "Thank you," Kixtal said, taking a small sip. "We waited for 3 of your days. Our diplomats prepared cultural exchange packages. We made videos showing how peaceful integration works. We showed examples of other species who joined us happily. But we never responded," General Harrison said. "No. Instead, you sent warships." The room became very quiet. The humans looked at each other. They had heard this part of the story before, but they always wanted to hear it again. 37 human vessels, Kixtal continued. Small compared to our ships. Primitive weapons compared to our technology. We thought perhaps you misunderstood our intentions. So what did you do? Admiral Vexquin ordered our ships to maintain distance. He broadcast another peaceful message. He explained that we meant no harm. He offered to send a single small ship with gifts and cultural information. Kixtal paused to drink more water. Their hands shook slightly as they held the glass. Your response was immediate. You opened fire. Dr. Chen stopped writing. Just like that? No warning? Your ships moved faster than we expected. They attacked in formations we had never seen before. Coordinated but chaotic. Precise but brutal. General Harrison leaned back in his chair. What did your admiral do? He was confused. All of us were confused. This had never happened before. Other species might resist at first, but they always talked. They always negotiated. They never just attacked. Kixtal set down the glass and stared at the table. Their reflection showed in the polished surface. Admiral Vexquin ordered defensive maneuvers only. He thought perhaps this was some kind of test. Some ritual combat before proper negotiations. He ordered all ships to disable human vessels but cause no deaths. Colonel Martinez wrote something on her own tablet. How long did that last? 47 minutes, Kixtal said immediately. I remember exactly. 47 minutes of trying to fight without killing. 47 minutes of hoping you would see reason. What changed? Kixtal's crystalline skin began to glow faintly. It was a sign of strong emotion in their species. The humans had learned this too. One of your ships was damaged, badly damaged. We thought the crew would surrender or evacuate. Instead, they turned their ship toward our flagship and accelerated. A suicide run, General Harrison said quietly. We had heard of such things in our historical studies. Ancient primitive behaviors. We thought all species grew beyond such actions when they developed space travel. The aliens' glow became brighter. The ship hit our flagship. The explosion destroyed both vessels. 3,000 Zephyrian crew members died instantly. We detected no escape pods from the human ship. They chose death over capture. Dr. Chen looked uncomfortable. What was Admiral Vexquin's response? Horror, complete horror. He had never seen anything like it. None of us had. In 47 previous first contacts, no species had ever chosen death over communication. Kixtal stood up from the chair. The humans tensed slightly, but they did not stop them. The alien walked to the small window in the room. Outside, they could see human buildings reaching toward the sky. The Admiral sent an emergency message to the Hegemony Council. He requested instructions for dealing with a species that would rather die than talk. What did the Council say? They did not believe him at first. They thought there must be some misunderstanding. Some translation error. They ordered him to try again with even clearer peaceful intentions. Kixtal turned back to face the humans. So we tried again. Admiral Vexquin ordered all weapons powered down. He broadcast on every frequency your species used. He showed images of Zephyrian children. He played our most beautiful music. He offered to withdraw completely if you would just agree to talk. Colonel Martinez already knew the answer, but she asked anyway. What happened? You sent more ships. Bigger ships. And you brought something we had never seen before. What? Weapons designed to cause pain before death. Weapons that would destroy our ship slowly instead of quickly. You were not just fighting us. You were trying to make us suffer. The room fell silent again. The three humans looked at their tablets and papers. They had been asking these questions for days, but they still seemed surprised by the answers. That was when Admiral Vexquin realized the truth. Kixtal said softly. What truth? This was not a misunderstanding. This was not a ritual. This was not fear of the unknown. Kixtal's voice became almost a whisper. This was what your species truly was. What you had always been. General Harrison closed his tablet. And that was when the real war began. Kixtal nodded slowly. That was when we learned what humans really are. Kixtal sat back down in the metal chair. The humans were still waiting. They wanted to hear more about the war, about what happened after those first terrible attacks. Admiral Vexquin called for reinforcements, Kixtal began. The Hegemony sent the 3rd Battle Fleet, 200 ships, our most experienced commanders. Colonel Martinez poured herself some coffee from a small pot on the table. The smell was strange to Kixtal, but not unpleasant. We thought numbers would solve the problem, the alien continued. We had fought wars before. The Klaxon Rebellion lasted 3 years. The Meridian Conflict took 5 years. We knew how to fight. Dr. Chen looked up from his notes. But humans were different, very different. We expected you to retreat when you saw our fleet. Any reasonable species would have negotiated at that point. Instead, you sent every ship you had. Kixtal's skin began to glow again, but dimmer this time. More like sadness than fear. Your planet had maybe 200 ships total, small ones, weak ones compared to ours, but you sent all of them. General Harrison set down his pen. What was our strategy? That was the problem. You had no strategy, not one we could understand. Kixtal paused. In proper warfare, you protect your important ships. You retreat when losses become too high. You surrender when victory becomes impossible. But we didn't do any of those things. No, you attacked everything. You sacrificed expensive ships to destroy cheap ones. You used civilian vessels as weapons. You turned cargo ships into bombs. Kixtal stood up again and walked around the small room. The humans watched but did not stop them. Commander Thial was in charge of the orbital assault. She was a good officer. Very experienced. She had conquered 12 worlds before yours. What happened to her? She positioned her ships around your planet Earth. Standard siege formation. She waited for your surrender signal. In every previous war, besieged planets surrendered within days. The aliens stopped walking and faced the humans. Your planet was silent for 6 hours. Then you launched everything. Everything? Every satellite you had. Every space station. Every small ship and shuttle. Hundreds of objects moving toward our fleet. Most had no weapons at all. Dr. Chen wrote quickly on his tablet. What did Commander Thial do? She ordered defensive fire. Easy targets. Her gunners destroyed 90% of your objects before they could reach our ships. Colonel Martinez sipped her coffee. But the other 10% got through. Yes, but that was not the worst part. Kixtal's voice became very quiet. The worst part was what those objects carried. What did they carry? Messages. Video recordings. Your entire history of warfare. The room became silent. General Harrison put down his coffee cup. You sent us footage of your ancient battles, soldiers fighting with swords and spears, warriors continuing to fight after losing arms and legs, armies that fought until every single member was dead. Kixtal began walking again, faster this time. You showed us your siege of Stalingrad, your battle of Thermopylae, your Alamo. You showed us humans fighting impossible odds and choosing death over surrender. What effect did this have on your crew? Terror, pure terror. Commander Thial had studied 47 species. None of them had histories like yours. Other species fought for territory or resources. They had logical reasons for war. They stopped when the cost became too high. The alien stopped and gripped the back of the chair. But your species was different. You fought wars for ideas, for beliefs, for honor. You fought wars you could not win just because you thought they were right. Dr. Chen looked confused. Why was that so frightening? Because it meant you could not be reasoned with. Other species, we could offer them better deals. More territory, advanced technology, something they wanted more than war. Kixtal sat down again heavily. But what could we offer a species that would die for ideas? How do you negotiate with someone who values death over defeat? Colonel Martinez leaned forward. What did Commander Thial decide to do? She tried the standard approach. She bombed your military bases. She destroyed your weapons factories. She targeted your communication systems. Did it work? No, your production actually increased. Somehow bombing your factories made you build more factories. Destroying your weapons made you create better weapons. General Harrison nodded slowly. Necessity breeds innovation. We did not understand this concept. When other species lose infrastructure, they become weaker. When humans lose infrastructure, you become more dangerous. Kixtal drank more water. Their throat was becoming dry from so much talking. Within 1 month, you were building ships faster than we could destroy them. Worse, your new ships were better than your old ones. Better how? Faster, more maneuverable, and much more willing to die. The alien skin began to glow brighter again. Your new ships had no escape pods, no life support systems beyond what was needed for the mission. Every gram of weight was dedicated to weapons or engines. Dr. Chen stopped writing. No life support? Your crews wore spacesuits with limited air. They expected to die. They planned to die. Every ship was designed for a one-way mission. Colonel Martinez refilled her coffee cup. Her hands were steady, but her face looked troubled. This was when Commander Thial sent her first panic report to Admiral Vexquin. She said the humans were not fighting a war. They were conducting some kind of ritual mass suicide. What did the Admiral say? He ordered her to continue the siege. He thought your behavior would change when your losses became high enough. Every species has a breaking point. Kixtal laughed, but it was not a happy sound. It was like breaking glass. Your losses were already impossibly high. You had lost 80% of your original fleet. Any other species would have surrendered completely. But we kept fighting. You kept fighting. And your new tactics were worse than anything we had seen before. General Harrison leaned forward. What kind of tactics? You stopped trying to win battles. Instead, you tried to make us afraid to fight battles. Kixtal's glow became very bright. You sent ships filled with nuclear weapons toward our fleet. When we destroyed them, they exploded anyway. The radiation contaminated our ships for months. Chemical warfare. Worse than chemical warfare. You sent clouds of microscopic machines, nanobots that would eat through our hull metal. They spread from ship to ship through physical contact. The alien was shaking now. But the worst thing was the broadcasts. What broadcasts? You hacked our communication systems. You sent messages directly to our crew members. Personal messages. Dr. Chen looked up. What kind of personal messages? You had learned our language. You had studied our psychology. You sent each crew member detailed descriptions of how you planned to kill them specifically. The room was completely silent now. Not just kill them. You described how you would make them suffer first, how you would hunt down their families on other worlds, how you would make their death serve as examples to other species. Colonel Martinez set down her coffee cup. Her hand was shaking slightly. The messages were different for each individual, customized based on our personnel files. You somehow knew our fears, our family members, our personal histories. How did we get that information? Kickstel looked directly at General Harrison. You tortured the survivors. From our first destroyed ships, the silence stretched for long minutes. Commander, Thial lost 40% of her crew to psychological breakdown in the first week of broadcasts. They could not function. They could not sleep. They could not fight. What did she do? She ordered a full retreat. She abandoned the siege of Earth and requested emergency evacuation to the outer system. Kickstel's glow faded to almost nothing. That was when Admiral Vexquin realized we were not fighting a war. We were fighting something much worse. What were we fighting? Demons. The humans brought food into the room. Simple things that Kickstel could eat. Bread and fruits and vegetables. The alien was grateful but found it hard to swallow. The memories made their throat tight. Tell us about the retreat, Colonel Martinez said gently. Kickstel picked at a piece of bread. Admiral Vexquin ordered all ships to pull back to the asteroid belt around your sun. Safe distance from Earth, time to regroup and plan. How many ships did you have left? 137. We had lost many ships, but more importantly, we had lost confidence. Dr. Chen looked up from his tablet. What do you mean? Our crew members were afraid. They had never faced an enemy like humans before. They did not want to fight anymore. General Harrison poured water into his glass, but the Admiral ordered them to continue. Yes, Admiral Vexquin received direct orders from the Hegemony Council. They said the human problem must be solved quickly before other species learned about it. Kickstel took a small bite of bread and chewed slowly. The Council was worried that human behavior would spread, that other species might start fighting the same way. Like a disease, Colonel Martinez said. Exactly like a disease. The Council had spent thousands of years building a peaceful galaxy. They could not allow humans to destroy that peace. The alien put down the bread and looked at each human in turn. So they sent the 4th battle fleet. And the 7th. And the 9th, Dr. Chen stopped writing. How many ships total? 800 ships. The largest fleet in hegemony history. They also sent the Special Weapons Division. What kind of special weapons? Kickstel's skin began to glow again. Weapons we had never used before. Weapons we had hoped never to use. The room became very quiet. Planet killers, virus bombs, quantum disruptors, tools designed to eliminate entire species if necessary. General Harrison set down his water glass. The Council authorized genocide? They authorized whatever was necessary to stop the human threat from spreading. Kickstel stood up and walked to the window again. Outside, human children were playing in a park, running and laughing and chasing each other. Admiral Vexquin was not happy about these orders. He was a good officer, but he was also a moral being. He had never killed an entire species before. What did he do? He tried one more diplomatic approach. He sent a message to your world leaders. He explained that the hegemony was prepared to destroy Earth, completely unless humans agreed to immediate surrender. The alien turned away from the window. He gave you 72 hours to respond. Colonel Martinez already knew the answer, but she asked anyway. What was our response? You attacked. Immediately? Within 6 hours. But this time was different. This time you came to us. Kickstel walked back to the table and sat down heavily. We detected your ships approaching our position in the asteroid belt. 60 ships. Small ones. We were not worried. Our fleet could destroy 60 human ships easily. Dr. Chen wrote notes quickly. But something went wrong. Everything went wrong. Your ships were not like the ones we had seen before. They moved differently. They attacked differently. How so? They were faster. Much faster. And they carried weapons we had never seen. Kickstel picked up a piece of fruit and stared at it. Somehow, in just 2 months you had completely redesigned your technology. General Harrison leaned forward. You mean we had improved our existing designs? No, I mean you had created entirely new types of weapons. Based on our own technology. The room fell silent. You had captured some of our damaged ships during the early battles. We thought you would study them to understand our capabilities. Instead, you copied our designs and made them better. Colonel Martinez looked confused. Better how? Our weapons were designed to disable enemy ships while preserving the crew for capture. Your versions were designed only to kill. Kickstel set down the fruit without eating it. Our shields were designed to protect against energy weapons. Your new ships carried kinetic weapons that passed right through our defenses. What happened in the battle? It was not a battle. It was a massacre. The alien's glow became very bright. Your 60 ships destroyed 40 of ours in the first 10 minutes. Our tactical computers could not understand your attack patterns. You moved in ways that violated basic military logic. Dr. Chen looked up. What do you mean? You sacrificed valuable ships to destroy worthless targets. You ignored easy kills to attack defended positions. You acted like you wanted to lose as many ships as possible. That doesn't make sense. That is what Admiral Vexquin thought, until he realized the truth. Kixtel stood up again and began pacing around the room. You were not trying to win the battle. You were trying to teach us something. Teach you what? That no position was safe. That no ship was too well defended. That nowhere in the galaxy would be beyond your reach. The alien stopped pacing and gripped the back of the chair. Every ship you lost carried a message, broadcast on all frequencies as it died. What kind of message? Coordinates. Coordinates of hegemony worlds, our home planets, our colonies, our secret military bases. General Harrison's face went pale. How did you get those coordinates? You had tortured the information from captured crew members. But that was not the worst part. What was the worst part? The messages also contained detailed plans. Plans for attacking each world. Plans that showed you had studied our defenses and found ways to defeat them. Kixtal let go of the chair and walked to the far corner of the room. Plans that showed you could build ships, capable of traveling between stars. Plans that showed you were preparing for offensive operations. Colonel Martinez stood up. You mean we were planning to invade your territory? Not invade, exterminate. The word hung in the air like poison. Each plan was different. Customized for each world. Some involved nuclear weapons. Some involved biological weapons. Some involved simply crashing asteroids into the planets. Dr. Chen stopped writing completely. We planned to destroy entire worlds. Not just destroy them. You planned to make them suffer first. To broadcast the destruction to other hegemony worlds as a warning. Kixtal's voice became very quiet. The plans were detailed enough that our military analysts believed you could actually carry them out. What effect did this have on your fleet? Panic, complete panic. Admiral Vexquin received emergency communications from dozens of worlds. Colony governors demanding protection. Military commanders requesting permission to evacuate their families. The alien turned to face the humans. Within hours, the Hegemony Council was receiving reports that some worlds were already beginning evacuations. Billions of civilians fleeing their homes because of 60 human ships in one asteroid belt. General Harrison sat back in his chair. The psychological warfare was working. It was more than psychological warfare. It was terrorism on a galactic scale. Kixtal walked back to the table and sat down. Admiral Vexquin ordered all ships to attack your remaining vessels immediately. He wanted to stop the broadcasts. Did he succeed? He destroyed your ships. All of them. But it was too late. Why? Because your ships had been broadcasting for 37 minutes. And in 37 minutes you had sent detailed attack plans for every major world in the hegemony. Kixtal picked up the piece of fruit again and took a small bite. That night, Admiral Vexquin received new orders from the Council. What orders? Total war. No more attempts at diplomacy. No more concern for civilian casualties. Use every weapon available to eliminate the human threat completely. The alien chewed slowly and swallowed. The Admiral was relieved. Finally, he could fight humans the way they deserved to be fought. Colonel Martinez sat back down. What happened next? The Admiral ordered the Special Weapons Division to prepare for planetary bombardment. He planned to destroy Earth from orbit, then hunt down any surviving human, ships. Kixtal finished the piece of fruit and looked at each human in turn. He thought the war would be over in days, Mawai, but it wasn't. No, because humans were not finished teaching us lessons. Kixtal stopped eating. The food tasted like dust in their mouth. The memories of what came next were too terrible for appetite. The Special Weapons Division positioned their ships around Earth. The alien said quietly, 12 planet-killer vessels, each one capable of turning your world into molten rock. Dr. Chen looked sick. How long would it take? 6 hours. Complete sterilization of all life on the planet. General Harrison opened a new folder on his tablet. But something went wrong. Everything went wrong. Admiral Vexquin gave the order to fire. The planet killers charged their weapons. We detected massive energy buildups on all 12 ships. Kixtal's skin began to glow, but this time it was different, sickly and pale like infection. Then the screaming started. Colonel Martinez leaned forward.
Screaming?
From the Special Weapons Division ships. Emergency broadcasts on all channels. Crew members screaming for help. The alien stood up and walked to the corner of the room facing the wall. We could not understand what was happening. The ships looked normal, no damage, no attacks from human forces. But the screaming continued. What was causing it? Nanobots, microscopic machines that you had somehow placed inside our ships. Kixtal turned around, their face twisted with remembered horror. But these were not like the nanobots from the earlier battles. These were different. Much worse. Dr. Chen put down his tablet. How are they worse? The earlier nanobots destroyed ship systems. These nanobots targeted living beings. The room became very cold and quiet. They entered our crew members through their breathing systems. Then they began to work. Work how? They rewrote our nervous system slowly, carefully. They did not kill us. They made us feel things. Kixtal's glow became brighter and more sickly. They made us experience every form of pain that humans had ever invented. Every torture method from your entire history, but not physically, mentally. Colonel Martinez looked pale. They attacked your minds. They made our brains believe we were being tortured. Burned alive, cut apart, drowned, frozen, all at the same time. The alien's voice became a whisper. The nanobots carried detailed files, videos from your history. They made us experience what your species had done to each other over thousands of years. General Harrison closed his tablet. How long did this last? Hours. The affected crew members experienced subjective years of torture in just a few hours. Their minds broke completely. Kixtal walked back to the table but did not sit down. But that was not the worst part. What was the worst part? The nanobots were selective. They only affected certain crew members. The ones with specific psychological profiles. Dr. Chen looked confused. What kind of profiles? The ones who were capable of giving the order to destroy your planet. The silence in the room was complete. You had somehow identified which members of our crew had the authority and willingness to commit genocide. The nanobots only targeted them. Colonel Martinez stood up slowly. You mean we specifically targeted your command structure? Not just the command structure. You targeted the part of the command structure that was prepared to kill billions of civilians. Kixtal finally sat down. But their hands were shaking. Within 4 hours, every officer capable of ordering planetary bombardment was either dead or completely insane. What did Admiral Vexquin do? He tried to give the order himself. But when he approached the command console, the nanobots activated in his system too. The alien's glow flickered like a dying light. I was on the bridge when it happened. The Admiral began screaming and clawing at his own skin. He experienced every method of execution that humans had ever used. Electric chairs, gas chambers, firing squads, all of them at once. Dr. Chen was writing again, but his hand was shaking. The Admiral lasted 6 minutes before his mind broke. When it was over, he spent the rest of his life believing he was being burned alive. Every second of every day until he died. General Harrison poured water but did not drink it. What happened to the planet killer ships? The nanobots began affecting their systems too, but not destroying them. Reprogramming them how? The weapons turned away from Earth. They pointed toward our own fleet. Kixtal's voice became flat and emotionless. Your nanobots had taken control of our most powerful weapons and aimed them at us. Colonel Martinez sat down heavily. Did they fire? No, but they could have, and we all knew it. The alien looked at each human in turn. That was when we realized the truth about your species. What truth? You were not fighting us. You were playing with us. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. Everything that had happened before was just a test. You were learning about us, studying our psychology, finding our weaknesses. Kixtal's glow became steady but very dim. The suicide attacks, the broadcasts, the psychological warfare. All of it was designed to make us reveal how we fought, how we thought, how we could be defeated. Dr. Chen looked up from his notes. You mean the war was an experiment? The war was a laboratory, and we were the test subjects. General Harrison leaned forward. What happened next? Admiral Vexquin was removed from command. His replacement, Admiral Kethmore, received new orders from the Hegemony Council. What orders? Full retreat. Immediate evacuation of all hegemony forces from your solar system. Kixtal stood up and walked to the window. The human children were still playing outside, but it was too late. Why? Because you followed us. The alien turned back to the humans. As our ships retreated, your new vessels appeared. Ships we had never seen before, larger than anything you had built previously. How large? The size of our dreadnoughts. But faster, much faster. Kixtal walked back to the table. These new ships did not attack us. They followed us. Always staying just within sensor range. Watching us for how long? Weeks. As we retreated deeper into hegemony space, your ships followed. More of them appeared every day. The aliens' glow became brighter with fear. Admiral Kethmore tried everything to lose them. Jump drives, stealth technology, diversionary tactics. Nothing worked. We kept following. You kept following. And every day you broadcast the same message. Colonel Martinez leaned forward. What message? We are coming. The 3 words were spoken so quietly that the humans had to lean forward to hear them. Just those 3 words. Repeated every hour, on every frequency. In perfect Zephyrian language. Dr. Chen put down his tablet completely. What effect did this have? Terror. Absolute terror. Our crew members began to break down. They knew that humans were hunting them. They knew that nowhere was safe. Kixtal sat down and put their head in their hands. Admiral Kethmore requested emergency reinforcements. The Council sent the First Fleet, our best ships. Our most experienced crews, did they help? They made it worse. The alien looked up, their large eyes reflecting the light. When the First Fleet arrived, your ships attacked immediately. But not with weapons. What did they attack with? Information. Kixtal's glow became very bright. You had captured one of our communication officers during an earlier battle. You had tortured him for months. You learned everything about our military codes, our encryption systems, our command protocols. The room became silent again. You sent false orders to our ships, orders that appeared to come from the Hegemony Council itself. What kind of orders? Orders to attack each other. The silence stretched for long minutes. Within hours, the First Fleet was destroying itself. Ship attacking ship. Admiral killing admiral, all because of false orders that we could not distinguish from real ones. Colonel Martinez stood up and walked to the window. How many ships did you lose? All of them. The entire First Fleet destroyed itself while your ships watched. Kixtal's voice became barely audible. That was when the Council realized the truth. What truth? Humans were not just another species. You were something else, something that should not exist. General Harrison closed his folder. What did the Council decide to do? Kixtal looked directly at him. They decided to surrender. The humans did not speak for a long time. They sat quietly, looking at their papers and tablets. Kixtal waited patiently. The alien had learned that humans needed time to process difficult information. Finally, Colonel Martinez broke the silence. Tell us about the surrender. Kixtal's skin stopped glowing completely. It became dull and gray like old metal. The Hegemony Council sent a message to your world. Complete capitulation. They offered to withdraw all forces from human space immediately and forever. Dr. Chen looked up from his tablet. What was our response? Silence. For 3 days you said nothing. General Harrison leaned forward. Then what happened? You sent a single ship to meet with our remaining fleet. A small vessel with no weapons. Kixtal stood up and walked around the room slowly. Admiral Kethmore was suspicious. He thought it might be another trap. Another psychological attack, was it? In a way, yes. But not the kind we expected. The alien stopped walking and faced the humans. Your ship approached our flagship. It requested permission to dock. Admiral Kethmore granted the request because he was curious about what humans looked like in person. Colonel Martinez refilled her coffee cup. Who came aboard? 3 humans. A diplomat, a scientist, and a military officer. They were polite and respectful. They asked to speak with Admiral Kethmore privately. What did they say? Kixtal's voice became very quiet. They thanked him for the war. The room fell completely silent. They said the conflict had been very educational. They had learned much about Zephyrian technology and psychology. They expressed gratitude for the opportunity to test their new weapons and tactics. Dr. Chen put down his pen. They thanked him for the war? Yes, then they made their offer. What offer? They said humans would accept the hegemony's surrender on one condition. General Harrison closed his tablet. What condition? That Admiral Kethmore would carry a message back to the Council. Kikstal walked to the window and stared out at the playing children. The message was simple. Humans wanted the galaxy to know what they were capable of when they were only defending themselves. They wanted everyone to imagine what they could do if they ever decided to attack. What was the Admiral's response? He was confused. He asked why humans would want other species to fear them. The diplomat smiled and said fear would prevent future conflicts. The alien turned away from the window. Then the scientist showed Admiral Kethmore something that changed everything. What did they show him? Video recordings from Earth. Footage of human shipyards working at full capacity. Kikstal's skin began to glow again, but very faintly. In the 6 months since the war began, humans had built more ships than the entire hegemony fleet. Thousands of vessels, all of them larger and more advanced than anything we had ever seen. Colonel Martinez set down her coffee cup with shaking hands. The scientist explained that the war had been fought using only Earth's defensive fleet. The ships that had terrified us were the smallest and weakest vessels in human space. What about the larger ships? They were designed for offense, for traveling between stars, for conquering other worlds. Kikstal walked back to the table and sat down. The military officer showed Admiral Kethmore star maps, detailed plans for human expansion throughout the galaxy, lists of species to contact, methods for defeating each one. Dr. Chen's face had gone completely pale. We were planning to conquer the galaxy? Not conquer. Pacify. The alien picked up a piece of bread but did not eat it. The officer explained that humans had studied the histories of all 47 species in the hegemony. You had identified the ones that might resist human expansion. You had developed specific strategies for defeating each one. General Harrison leaned back in his chair. What kind of strategies? Different for each species. Some involved economic warfare. Some involved biological weapons. Some involved psychological manipulation. Kikstal broke the bread into small pieces. For the Zephyrians, you had developed nanobots that would rewrite our entire civilization, make us incapable of violence, turn us into a peaceful farming species that would serve human interests willingly. What did Admiral Kethmore say? He asked why the humans were telling him this, why they were revealing their plans. The alien's glow became slightly brighter. The diplomat smiled again and said humans believed in fair warning. They wanted every species to have a chance to make the right choice. Colonel Martinez leaned forward. What choice? Submit peacefully or be conquered violently. The words hung in the air like a poison cloud. Then the scientist showed Admiral Kethmore one final thing. What? A star map showing human exploration ships. Hundreds of them, already traveling toward hegemony worlds. Kikstal scattered the breadcrumbs across the table. The ships would arrive at major hegemony colonies within 2 years. Each ship carried a small human crew and a simple message. What message? The same choice. Submit peacefully or be conquered violently. Dr. Chen had stopped taking notes completely. What did the Admiral do? He asked if there was any alternative, any way to avoid conflict. The alien looked directly at General Harrison. The military officer said yes. If every species in the galaxy agreed to follow human leadership, there would be no need for violence. Human leadership. A new galactic government, run by humans, with other species serving as junior partners. Kikstal stood up and walked to the corner of the room. Admiral Kethmore asked what would happen if the hegemony refused. What did they say? The diplomat stopped smiling. He said humans would demonstrate their displeasure by destroying one hegemony world completely. As an example to the others, the alien turned to face the humans. Then they would destroy another world. And another. Until the hegemony agreed to cooperate. Colonel Martinez stood up slowly. What was the Admiral's response? He agreed to carry the message. What choice did he have? Kikstal walked back to the table. The 3 humans thanked him politely and returned to their ship. As they left, the diplomat said something that the Admiral never forgot. What did he say? He said humans hoped the galaxy would make the right choice, because the alternative would be very unpleasant for everyone involved. General Harrison opened his tablet again. What happened after that? Admiral Kethmore returned to hegemony space. He delivered the human message to the Council. Within days, 17 different species announced their withdrawal from the hegemony. They abandoned the alliance. They fled. Each species tried to put as much distance as possible between themselves and human space. Kikstal sat down. and looked at each human in turn. The council tried to organize resistance. They sent messages to species outside the hegemony. They warned everyone about the human threat. Dr. Chen looked up. What was the response? Some species moved their populations to other galaxies. Some species went into hiding on remote worlds. Some species simply disappeared completely. The aliens' glow began to fade. Within 1 year, the hegemony had collapsed. 47 species scattered across the galaxy like frightened animals. Colonel Martinez sat back down. What about you?
Why are you here?
Kixtal was quiet for a long moment. I was not supposed to survive the war. What do you mean? During the final battle, my ship was disabled. I was unconscious when your forces boarded the vessel. The alien's voice became very soft. When I woke up, I was alone. My crew was gone. The ship was drifting in space. General Harrison leaned forward. What happened to your crew? I found a message on the ship's computer. Left by the human boarding party. What did it say? It explained that I had been chosen to carry a warning to other species, to tell them what humans were capable of when threatened. Kixtal's glow flickered like a dying flame. The message said humans wanted one survivor from each major battle, someone to spread fear throughout the galaxy. Colonel Martinez looked troubled. You mean we deliberately spared you? Not just spared, educated. The alien stood up and walked to the window one final time. The humans who captured me spent weeks teaching me about your species. They showed me your history, your wars, your weapons, your plans for the future. Why? So I would understand the message I was supposed to carry. Kixtal turned back to the humans. The message is simple. Humans are not interested in joining galactic civilization. You are planning to replace it. The room became completely silent. Every species in the galaxy now knows this. They know that humans are coming. They know that resistance is futile. They know that cooperation is the only way to survive. Dr. Chen closed his tablet. What do you think will happen? Some species will fight. They will be destroyed as examples to the others. The alien walked back to the table. Some species will hide. You will find them eventually. And the rest? The rest will surrender before you even arrive. They will offer their worlds and their populations to human control. Kixtal sat down and looked directly at General Harrison. That is what you wanted, is it not? Conquest without warfare? General Harrison did not answer. I have done my job well. I have carried your message across the galaxy. 46 species now know what humans are capable of. Colonel Martinez leaned forward. What happens now? Kixtal's glow faded completely. The alien's skin became dull and lifeless. Now I wait. Wait for what? For you to decide whether I have served my purpose. Whether you still need a messenger, or whether the message has been delivered. The three humans looked at each other. None of them spoke.